Good morning. Hello, hello. Hello, everybody. Welcome on in. Jump over to the chat. Let me know if you can see me and hear me okay. We're going to be having lots of fun together today, as always, but super pumped for today's session. So, hey, Farah. Hey, Kay. Great to see you. Jump over. Let me know if you guys are here with me. Can you hear me and see me? Want to make sure we're working. I can see a love heart there, Farah. So I think we're okay. But we're going to give you guys a chance to come on in and get settled so we can kick off on this training. This today is going to be one of our recordings. So this is a live studio type scenario. I'll explain a little bit more about that to you all very, very shortly. Hello, Amandio. Great to see you as well. We've got Marlena, Joanne, Louise over on this side. Great to see you guys as well. So looks like we're all up and running. How are you guys feeling about 2026? Who's pumped for this year and excited to have a kick butt year, to use social media to reach more people, have a greater impact, and grow this incredible business of yours? Who feels excited about this? Hey, Carol. Hey, Caroline. Great to see you as well. And we've got Kay's just jumped on in. Awesome. We've got lots of Joannes here today. I love it. All right. Well, let's give you guys a little bit of a rundown. Hey, Susan. So today is going to be about helping you guys create your plan moving forward. Now, you've heard me talk a lot, probably towards the end of last year. It was kind of my little phrase that I feel like came out of my mouth on a daily basis. And that was that most people operate on social media like they're throwing spaghetti at a wall and waiting to see what sticks. And this is what happens when you do your social media content in a very ad hoc kind of a way. It's how most people do it, but it isn't the most effective way. It's time consuming, it's stressful, and you're not operating from a place of being proactive, you're being reactive. And what we tend to miss a lot of the little idiosyncrasies, that the little things that can make our content absolutely pop and stand out. We miss some of the things that we could learn about our audience that could help us deliver better content as well moving forward. So what we're going to be doing in this session today is planning ahead. Now, the other thing I love doing this, the other reason I love doing this, sorry, words already tired, we're off to a great start, is because it takes a lot of the stress and pressure off mentally from having to be constantly on and thinking about what will I do next. And I don't want to get too much into this because I want to explain it in the recording. But the thing about content is that there's actually both a strategic and a creative element that must come into play here. But that's left and right side of the brain, right? The left and right side of the brain generally don't operate at full capacity at the same time. So if any of you guys know about this, and I'm no expert in this space, so please correct me if I get any of this wrong, but here's the thing. Some of us operate in the left side of the brain or the right side of the brain predominantly. So you've got those people who are naturally very creative, but they're not so great at the logical thinking. They can be, but they've got to really get into that place. Likewise, you've got the people who, it's probably vast majority of us here right now, more the entrepreneurs and the people that run business that operate more in the the logical, critical thinking side of the brain, which is the left side, and then the creative. You've got to really get into that space in order to be creative. Doesn't mean you're not creative. I'm a very creative person, but I have to get myself into that place. And so when it comes to creating great content, we have to do both things, but we've got to understand that our brain is not going to be doing both at the same time. This is why you see some people that are really great at creating beautiful content, pretty pictures, very creative stuff, but it's not performing because it's not logical and strategic. And then you've got the people who are logical and strategic, but it doesn't look so great. And so you've got both of those sides that need to come together. So what we're going to do today is show you how to bring both of those together and work in a way that is, I guess, conducive with life, because that's what this needs to be, right? Your social media has got to fit in with your lifestyle, not the other way around. Whereas I see a lot of people, a lot of the influencers out there are not sustainable in what they do. They might be for themselves, but it's not really duplicatable. And so you're watching people going, oh my gosh, I've got to be more like this person or that person who's producing all of this incredible content. You're thinking, oh my goodness, how am I going to do that without it taking over my life? And the answer is, for some people, it is their life. Is because that's not reasonable for most people. You're here to run a business. You're here to grow a business that supports the lifestyle you want. And the lifestyle you want is probably with family or retiring or not working at your day job for somebody else. And so why on earth would we spend all of our time on social media doing the very thing that we want to step back from? We want to have a life, right? So what I want to show you how to do is run your social media in a way that is conducive with life, but also that's going to get you results. Does that sound kind of good? Does that sound like what everyone needs right now? I think it's what I need right now. So I hope it's what you guys need right now. Now, this process I'm going to take you through today is a process I personally use. So I developed this probably about 6 years ago now, when I really sat down and thought about it. I've spoken to our Rise Up members about it a few times and how this all came about, but I used to unconsciously do this. I sort of developed this process when I realized that this spaghetti at the wall method just wasn't effective, but also, I was paying attention to my own behavior and realized I'm not always on. I'm not always in a creative space. I'm not always feeling like posting. And so I thought, well, what if I didn't have to be? What if I could be organized ahead of time in such a way that I can do what needs to be done to get the results, but it doesn't really matter where my headspace is day to day, I can still get great results. So I sat down, I thought about 6 years ago, how do I do this process for myself? And if I were to teach someone else how to do it, how would I step them through it? And so I was on a plane at the time, and I was personally going through my planning, and I logged and recorded the steps that I go through. And it came down to 5 different steps, and that's what we're going to walk through today. Now, just before we do, I'm going to do a really quick little bit of housekeeping around how this session is going to work. This session here is going to become one of our 2026 recordings. We like to update our recordings as often as we can. And so this is going to become one of those updated recordings. And so as a result, you guys are all my live studio audience today. So I've got a bunch of people in Dream Team. We've got a bunch of people over here in Academy that are joining me live. So what's going to happen is, in a little moment, I'm going to pause and then I'm going to start the recording. And so that our team can edit and top and tail the start and the finish to make this make lots of sense, there will be that little pause. But the other thing is that we don't want this to be confusing for those that are watching it back later on down the track. So there'll be lots of you guys that will come back and watch this training throughout the year. Many people who can't be here live with us today. And so because of that, I'm not going to be answering your questions during the recording itself, but I will come back and answer them at the end. So if you've got people who come in while we're recording and they're in the chat going, why isn't Sam answering any questions? You can tell them, because this is a live recording, but she's going to answer them at the end. Okay. So I'm not ignoring you. I can still see you all here. I just want to make sure that this makes sense for our people watching this later on down the track as well. All good? Are we all good? We all get that? Give me a little thumbs up if you're good to go and you've got this. Awesome. I can see some thumbs floating across the screen. Brilliant. All right. Okay, well, we're going to get stuck in. So if you do have any questions you need to ask them right now. Coolio. Hey, Barbara, great to see you too. All right. Let's have a quick little, I'm going to just flick the camera off for a second. Okay, well, welcome back to our training modules. This one is going to be a really, really powerful one. I know you're going to love this because this is one that I developed for myself and now I'm teaching it to you, and that is how to plan ahead and make sure that your social media content is cohesive, is structured, is planned, is strategic, but also is creative and gets you the results you want. Now, just as we go into this session today, I'm going to take you through 5 key steps in order to create your social media content plan. And these steps are very specific in a very specific order to get you the results that you want. But I want to just explain this process to you very quickly. The first thing is this process does take a little bit of time. I would usually recommend allocating 1 to 2 hours to do this process. And I would suggest doing it once every 3 months if you want to get optimum results. 6 monthly is okay, but the reason I say 3 is because what you'll find is as you learn and as you put your content out there and as you grow and as your business develops and the world around you changes and your audience changes and you change, then your strategy is also going to need to have a little bit of a facelift. And so quarterly is a really good amount of time to do this for. Now, the beauty of it is that also all of our other training complements what we're going to do today. So every week we've got our lives where we teach you social media content strategies. And the beauty of that is you can feed that into what we're about to do together. The other reason that this is really important to do this in one sitting as well. So don't break this up over, some people say to me, oh, I'm going to do it over 30 minutes a day over a week or something like that. The reason I suggest you do it in one go is because what we're trying to pull from here are 2 different ways of thinking. You've got the left side of the brain and the right side of the brain. Now, I'm no expert in this space, so take this as a grain of salt if you want, but the main thing you need to understand is we've got a creative and a logical or strategic side of our brain. The thing about this is that we don't operate predominantly from both at the same time. One is always running the show. And so this means you've got the people who operate usually from a creative place and the people that operate usually from a strategic, logical place. It doesn't mean we don't swap sides. It doesn't mean that, if I'm a strategic person, I can't be creative. What it means is that I have a dominating side of my brain. Now, the reason I bring this up is your social media content requires both sides of the brain. Now, this is why you see a lot of people doing one or the other well. They're either really strategic and really great at the logical part and they're coming up with the plan, but they're not so great at creating. Or you've got the people who are amazing at creating, but they struggle a little bit with the strategy. And so what we're going to do is use this process I'm about to take you through to help you with both, because it does require both in order for you to nail this. And I want you to. The other thing I want you to really think about here as we go through this training today is that when we plan ahead, we take out a lot of the hard work long term. And I want your social media to be conducive to a lifestyle that you want to live. It shouldn't take over your life. It should fit in with the life that you have and the business that you're formulating. I love the saying we should start the way we intend to finish. And that's really important because if you start out with your social media and your business needing to take over your life thinking, I'm going to build this business and then I'm going to have the lifestyle of my dreams. Well, how are you going to have the lifestyle of your dreams if you're building a business that requires all of you? And so unlike many of those influencers out there where social media really is their life, I'm pretty sure that for you, your social media is something you need, but it is a a method to the end. It's something that you need to get you where you want to go. It's not the be all and end all. And I've said to you, when you signed up for this training, I said to you, I don't want you spending more time on social media. I want you spending less, but I want that time that you spend on it to be productive and get your results and move the needle. So that's what today is all about. How do we do this in a way that's going to help this fit in with our lifestyle? So as we go through this, we're going to think about lots of different things here. We're going to really be planning out what the next 3 months needs to look like. But I want you to ask yourself honestly, how much time can I allocate to my social media over the next 3 months? Now, I say can because in some cases, particularly if you're growing your momentum and you haven't really got it yet, you might need to put in a little bit more effort now than what hopefully you will down the track. Or maybe that effort will shift or change. So I don't want it to take over your life. It needs to fit in. It needs to be something that you can maintain. But I want you to think about how much time can you reasonably allocate to this, knowing it is really important. You know, is that going to be 1 hour once a week and 10 minutes a day? Is that going to be 2 hours once a week and 30 minutes or an hour a day? What is that going to look like? What can you allocate, and get that in your calendar now? And then put your planning time, which is what we're doing today, into your calendar every 3 months. Allocate yourself, if you can, 2 hours. Put it all in one block at a time where you know you won't be disturbed. You can lock yourself away and you can go back through this process, rewatch this video, pull out the worksheet that I'm going to give you as well, and really knuckle down and do this process. Now, this is something that we do with our entire team, and we plan this out. So when I say my entire team, the creative team do this together. We plan it out so we know what we're doing and everyone knows what their responsibilities are, right? And so it is really important that you think this ahead. If you don't, you're throwing spaghetti at the wall, and that is not going to be a productive way to operate moving forward. Make sense? All right, so let's get stuck in and have a little bit of a look at what we've got to cover off on today. So we're going to be talking today about my personal social media playbook. This is what I call it. And the social media playbook essentially is how I do my social media. I'm sharing it with you today. Now, I noted down my steps that I go through about 6 years ago now. I was sitting on a plane. This is where I love to do this process because it's time that you got to spend anyway, right? So if you've got anywhere to travel in the near future, bring yourself a note paper and a pen and the worksheets printed out, and just put some background music on and just knuckle down and do this process. And I promise you, you will thank yourself for it later on. This takes a lot of the hard thinking out of it week to week because you've done it ahead. So these are the processes I take you through. So let's start with step number 1. And I really encourage you, do this with me as we go through. Start to note some of these things down as we talk about it. Now, step number 1 of a kick butt, needle moving social media strategy is knowing the following thing. Are you ready? Very important, most important. Know your business goal. Now, why on earth do I need to know what my business goal is? Well, because your social media is there as a tool to help you achieve that goal. Now, if you are posting and creating things on social media and you don't know where you want to go, then how are you going to know if what you're doing is actually working, and how are you going to come up with strategies to get you there? That is the definition of somebody who is throwing spaghetti at the wall, is someone who doesn't know where they're going. So it's a little bit like, you know, if you were shooting an arrow, but you couldn't see your target, or you're blindfolded and you're shooting that arrow and you're trying to hit a target you can't see, doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it? So you want to take the blindfold off, you want to aim that arrow, you want to know exactly where you're going, and you want to nail that target. And so know what your business goal is. So first of all, understand a goal without a plan is just a wish. So what we're going to work on today is the plan side of it. Then you want to ask yourself, what outcome do I want from social media? There's not really a right or a wrong here. It's just being clear. So for some of you, it's going to be, I want to sell. For some of you, it's going to be, I want to educate. For some of you, you want to build relationship and build your pipeline and your network. For some of you, you're wanting to create awareness. For some of you, you want to entertain. For some of you, you're building a personal brand. There is no right or wrong. Converting and selling is good. That's okay. That's not a bad thing. It's just that when you know that's what you want, you're going to post very specific way, and it will be different to the person who's wanting to educate and nurture. So know what you want to achieve. What is your social media there to do for you? The next is get really clear on what do you want your followers to feel. And I would encourage you to write this down right now. What are the emotions you want people to walk away with? Now, understand this. People will not remember what you said, but they will remember how you made them feel. The key here to understand is that you are going to make people feel something, whether you're intentional about it or not. So why not do it deliberately instead of accidentally? So what I want you to do is jot down what are the things you want people to feel when they see your social media content. When you're intentional about how you make people feel, you use different language, you use different imagery, you might even consider using different colors as well in the content that you create. And the strategies will differ a little bit. So you can imagine if you were wanting to make people feel connected, then you're going to create very different content from someone that makes people want to feel joy. Now, it's okay to want to do both of those things, but I would say don't have more than 3 key emotions because they're part of your outcome, because you will confuse your content if you do. The next very important part to this is understand what your red thread is. And we're going to come back to that in just a little moment, but we're going to start by talking about the goals and where you're going. So what do you want people to feel? What emotions do you want them to feel? Now, we do have a live studio audience with us right now as well. So if you're watching the recording, I want you to jot this down. If you're in the live studio audience, I want you to throw your emotion in the chat and I'll read some of them out. So what do you want people to feel? Do you want them to feel joy, connection, love, it could also be challenging as well. You might want them to feel challenged. You might want them to feel curious. You might want them to feel educated. Might want them to feel what? What do you want them to feel? There, we've got some great words coming in here already. We've got inspired. We've got feel seen, understood, connected. So some really great words coming in here. I'm just looking at the other screen here to see. I know there's a little bit of a lag on some of them. Here we go. Connected, like they matter, that I can help them. Okay, so I love that. But what do you want them to feel that's not necessarily about you? Because remember, everyone's favorite subject is themselves, right? So they will subconsciously, this is the key here, they will connect that emotion to their relationship with you. So you notice how you've got certain friends or certain people that you know where you're like, every time I'm around that person, I feel XYZ. It might be, I just feel happy. Or there are people where you just feel heavy and drained. Or you feel critical or critiqued or challenged. The way that people make you feel, you associate with that relationship. So they are going to associate this with you, but I want you to be clear about what they feel, because that's what they care about. We've got some other great words coming in here. Grounded's a great one. Joy, hopeful, uplifted, empowered. What have we got over here? Happy and hopeful. Wanted, important, authentic. Ooh, good one. Appreciated. So some really great stuff coming in here. So first of all, get clear on this. Have 3 key emotions. Now, this will drive your content in lots of ways. The words you use, the colors you use, the images you use. I want you to ask yourself, before you hit post on anything, come back to those 2 core things. What's my goal? Is this going to move me closer to my goal? And what emotion do I want people to feel? And is this going to help them feel that emotion? It's also going to help you really think about, if I want people to feel joy, how will I formulate this particular post to do that, right? It changes the language a little bit. So let's jump now to step number 2 of the process. So we've done step number 1. Step number 2, very important. All of these are very important, but this one also very critically important, and that is know who you're speaking to. Now, keep in mind, you will always be learning this. So it's not I've done that exercise, I now know, I'm good to go. This changes and shifts because the world changes and shifts. Seasons change and shift. You change and shift. Your products, your business opportunity, the reason people want to do it, because the economy changes and shifts. All of these things will move, which means you need to be constantly curious about the answer to this question. So the content we create is not just designed to be targeted to this person, but half of the content you create will be designed to help you learn more about this person as well. So your social media content is also the answer. But I want you to get some clarity around this. Now, if you haven't done this yet, please ensure that you've jumped in and you've done the recording that we gave you on identifying your target audience and using ChatGPT to help you short circuit this process. I give you a really amazing prompt you can throw into ChatGPT that will literally spit a persona out for you in seconds that's going to help you nail this. Doesn't mean it's perfect, doesn't mean it's right the first time, but it gives you a really great framework to start from and a ton of really useful information. You've all got access to that, so make sure you go and get that recording. If you haven't done it yet, make that the next thing that you do. Really powerful. So know who you're speaking to. Now, remember the 2 golden questions. These are things that you should always be curious about, and they are what keeps them up at night and what gets them up in the morning. This means what problems in life does your audience want to solve and what do they value and care about? And when you know the answer to those 2 questions, it makes it a lot easier to create content that they want to see. Now, don't forget, the platforms already know the answers to these questions. It knows your audience inside and out, back to front. Probably knows you better than you know yourself. Now, let's not go too far down that rabbit hole because I could be talking about that all day. But the bottom line is that these platforms are using some unbelievable technology and tools and assessment and criteria to figure out what makes you tick for the purpose of delivering you content that it knows you want to see. Isn't it funny how when you go to Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or even your Netflix feed or your Hulu feed or your Google or your YouTube, you are constantly looking at things that you're like, wow, I didn't know I would even be interested in that, but here we go. And this is because these platforms understand you so well. Now, they don't get it right all of the time, but the bottom line to this is, as you are trying to reach your target audience, you want these platforms to show them your posts. It's very hard to get them to do it if you don't know what they care about, because those platforms do. So let's use Facebook as an example here. What it's constantly doing is every time it's given a piece of content by you, it's assessing that content and it's using all of these parameters to decide who's going to care about this post, who wants to see it. And that's how it decides what feeds to put it on. Now, when it puts it on these feeds, it's then using the interaction of that person to learn more about what they want to see more of from you. So if you don't know what your audience is interested in and you don't know what they're going to look at and you don't know what they're going to click on, it makes it very hard to create posts that are going to get you results. Now, the answer to this often comes back as well to understanding a little bit more about how they're consuming your content as well. So reading your insights and checking that information, very, very important, but we'll get to that very shortly. So what are some of the ways that you can get to know your audience? Here are a few things. Researching them can look like a number of things. The first thing it can be is looking at their profiles. What a lot of us forget to do is get out of our own page and go have a look at their profiles and interact with them there. So go have a look. If you've got some existing customers or existing followers or people that you know are your target audience, go check out their Facebook. Go check out their Instagram. Look at what they are telling you directly. Also, watch their comments and interactions. This is why it's really important not to post and ghost. Look at what they're telling you. What are they commenting on? What are they saying? How are they saying it? What are they asking? You know, if you're at a demonstration or a party or you're walking someone through the business opportunity or you're on a training, your greatest place that will give you the most clues will be the chat. So pay attention to that. You know, Thermomix people, if you happen to be side to side with someone washing up the dishes at the end of a demo, Those conversations are going to be the most powerful ones that you're ever going to have to tell you the answers to some of these questions. So talking to them, a lot of us forget we could just pick the phone up. We could go for a coffee or have lunch with someone who is a target audience and get to know them. Know as well, this doesn't have to be an existing customer. You can learn a lot about people who have the potential to be an existing customer. You would love to be an existing customer just by talking to them. Watch groups. Another really great little cheat here is to go into some Facebook groups or community groups or whatever that might be for you, and pay attention to pools of people that could be your target audience. Whether they are or not, doesn't matter. You can still learn about the stereotype, the person, the target, and get to know what makes them tick. And then jot down topics of interest, pain points, things they enjoy, things you learn. Write them down. You don't want to play a guessing game here. The more they can tell you, the more you can learn from them, the more you're going to be able to serve them and get in front of them. Okay, so research, very, very important. So we've done step 1 and step 2. So next, what we're going to do is the part that I think a lot of people jump straight to. We're actually going to do step 3. I know it says up on my screen, this is step 4. This is step 3. So we're going to do the part that most people jump to before they've done that, right? So ignore my little typo here. This is step 3. But the next part here is the brainstorming process. And this is the part that's going to take the most time. But what I'm going to get you to do now as you do this is we're going to switch ourselves into the other part of the brain. So up until this point, we're doing a couple of different things here. We've been thinking very strategically and logically. Where am I going? What do I want to do? What do I know about my audience? Now, this next part takes 2 different sides of the brain. So you're going to do the first part of this using the logical strategic brain, and then you're going to jump out of that part of the brain and into the right-hand side of the brain, which is the creative side, and you're going to do this again. And the reason is because you're going to come up with a whole heap of ideas that are very different and more creative than you will when you're being logical, and both matter. So the first time that you do this, stay in your work zone, stay at your desk exactly as you are. And what you're going to do is you're going to brainstorm a bunch of content strategies. So we're not brainstorming the content itself yet. We're brainstorming the strategies and we're writing them down. Okay, so you're going to come up with the category. So the category might be live. The category might be behind the scenes. The category might be educating. So every week in your live training, I give you a category and then I give you 10 ideas at least. Sometimes it's 20 or 30 ideas, but I'm giving you ideas that are the post ideas. So you've got category, it's like the umbrella, and then you've got each individual idea underneath that category. So you're coming up with the category here, not the ideas yet. Category. Then you're going to do the litmus test. The litmus test is asking yourself, what is the purpose of this category? And you want to make sure that that purpose, that objective, is tied back to what you wrote earlier, your business goal and your social media objective, right? And if you can, also make sure it ties into what you know about your audience. So for example, I might say I'm going to make Facebook Live or Instagram Live one of my categories. What is the objective of a live? The objective is to connect and resonate, to be real and human, to build relationship, to be interactive with people. All of these things are great things that are potentially going to help me move the needle towards the goal I want. So big tick next to that category. If, however, my category is pictures of cute, fluffy animals, and I can't come up with an objective that ties back to my business goal and my social media objective, it's not a category I should probably keep in my plan moving forward. Now, it doesn't mean that things won't change. Maybe you learn down the track that your audience just loves cute, fluffy animals and you love cute, fluffy animals. And so it just becomes a part of your connecting and resonating on a common interest. So no right or wrong here from me, because you are different. Your audience is different. Your purpose and why in this business is different. And so you want to get to know what's going to work for you. So this may very well change over time. So first thing is you come up with a category, the objective, right? We do that in our strategic, logical brain. But then here's where you're going to have some fun. You want to move now out of the left side of the brain, the logical side, and you want to move into the creative side. So what you're going to do is you're going to move away from your workspace. You're going to get up, you're going to shake it out, you're going to go away, maybe I like to go outside, take my shoes off, sit in the grass, and I get out a big pad and pen and I just dump a whole ton of ideas down. And the next thing I do is I come up with all those ideas. So how this might look is a little bit like this here. Now, all of you get this cheat sheet. So there's a couple of cheat sheets you're going to get off the back of this training. The first one is the social content strategy worksheet. There is a new version of this, so it does look slightly different to the one on the screen here. But what I'm actually giving you with this worksheet is a blank worksheet that you can fill in, and then mine that I've filled in. Now, the new one that I've done was one that I did last year, and it's got more relevant. I didn't just come up with my ideas. I came up with more relevant ideas that I thought you might want to copy and steal some of, right? So what you can see here is we've got the category at the very top. And so with the category, if I just use my little mouse here so I can show you, with the category, you can see at the top here, we've got engagement questions, things I want to know, right? That's the first category. Now, then we've got our objective, which is our litmus test. And so in this case, it's to relate, to connect, to engage, and to learn. Okay, tick. That category is a winner. We're going to keep that one in here. Then we're going to do our creative bit. Once we've filled that in for each of these, we've gone, motivation, inspiration, education, whatever it is, we're then going to now go away from our workspace, maybe put some music on, go somewhere that we can switch into that creative side of the brain, right? For some of you, it will be music. For a lot of you, it will be music because that's a really great way to get the creative brain switched on. I definitely suggest using pen and paper because that typically will get your creative brain operating. And you're going to write down those ideas and you're going to come up with as many as you can, right? So get as detailed as you want with this. So I've written some examples here. So let's go with behind the scenes. We've got funny story. Now, if I've already got some in my mind that I could use, I'm going to jot them down too. I'm literally going to brain dump every idea I can think of. Experience. So it might be, the time when, family, how a pondering or wondering, a thought, mum life. And so I'm going to jot down all the ideas I can think of. And you're going to aim for a minimum of 5 per category. By the way, you need to have a minimum of 10 categories on your list. Why minimum 10? Because you've got 7 days in a week and you should, to get your social media content to an optimal place, be posting 5 to 7 times a week. So if you've only got 5 to 7 categories, you don't have any to play with and switch in and switch out. Not every category you jot down here is going to work. Some of them are going to fail miserably. Some of them will need a lot of tweaking and others are going to stand out. But you don't want to be posting the same thing over and over and over again. So what you want to do is you want to learn. You want to try different things. So you need a minimum of 10 categories to play with. And then each week when you plan out your weekly plan, you're going to pull one of these ideas from one of these categories. And you're going to try various different things. So we will sit down and go, okay, this week we're going to be doing something that engages, something that is live, something that provides value, a lead magnet, something that educates, and so on and so forth. And so we'll go through our categories and we'll go, great, what have we got here to pull from? And then we will create those pieces of content each week. So the idea is that you don't have to sit down every week and go, what will I post next? You're sitting down and you're pulling this plan out and you're going, great, here are my 5 or my 7 posts. And all you have to do in that planning session each week is create those posts. So that you can see already, I hope, how much faster that process will be each week because you took the time to plan this ahead, right? So now I'm going to call this out for a little second because I can see a comment in here saying I struggle to focus long enough to do the steps. So I haven't been able to work out my tribe yet because I haven't been able to focus on it long enough. So here's the thing. When you try and do it all, you will get overwhelmed for sure. There's no question about that. So what I suggest that you do is make appointments with yourself to chip away at this one step at a time. So start with identifying your target audience. Now, that may sound like a really long drawn out process, but I've cheated this process for you now by giving you a prompt you can put into ChatGPT that makes it take literally no longer than 30 seconds. So it doesn't mean that you don't do the work and you don't learn about it as much as you can, but something that used to take hours to figure out, once upon a time we were teaching this over a 2 or 3 hour process, now takes you 30 seconds. So there's no reason that you can't do that. But I would say allocate the time to do the learning. And because I don't want you to rely on ChatGPT or AI as right, because it's not always right. It doesn't always nail it. But you want to use it as a tool to help you. So still do the thinking, still do the work, but you don't have to go quite as in depth as once upon a time you did, right? So lock that time away. Then separately, set yourself up some time to allocate to doing this process. And you can probably already see, and we've got to step number 3, we've got 2 to go, but you can probably already see how this process is going to be a lot easier once you've done it a couple of times. So this now takes me maybe an hour tops, but it used to take me a good 2 to 3 hours. The truth is, though, if you get yourself to a place where you can get excited about it because it's about moving your business and momentum and growth, I actually enjoy this. I really do. But I have to allocate the time and treat it like an appointment with myself. And I make it fun. I make my favorite cup of tea or coffee. Sometimes I take myself on a coffee date to a local cafe and I sit down with pen and paper and I do this process. And it makes it like a little date with myself. Okay, so make it fun. Enjoy this process. Don't make it a drag for yourself. So you write out the content strategy. We've done that part. Now we get to the real step 4. And step 4, the real one, is where you actually create the content. So now we've got all the ideas. We've written it all down. We're going to hold on to that for the next 3 months. But next, we create the content. So that's where we literally make our posts up. Now, there are a couple of little cheats to this process. The first one is saving yourself time by putting things in, like batch creating, but putting things in locations you can easily find them. So the first is, no, you're going to come up with ideas at all different times of the day in all different places, but you're not necessarily going to be in a place to create the content in that moment. So a couple of things that you can do. You can either use AI to store your ideas or simply use your notes in your phone to store your ideas for when you're ready. In addition, you're going to take photos and things on your phone that are going to be great for you to use down the track. So a really good thing to do is either, if you're using something like Canva or Oxano Social or using some kind of a content creation tool, or even Facebook itself, you can upload your images into drafts and save them for later. You don't even need a caption with it. You can have it uploaded, ready to rock and roll. Or you can do something that I do, which is so crazy simple, but who would have thought? Drag and drop or save all of your images that you take on your phone. I've just got my phone here into a folder. And guess what my folder's called? Social media post content. Now, I've got stuff in there from years, over the years. I've got like thousands of photographs now. The beauty of it is I don't need to scroll through my gallery every time I want to create a social media post. Instead, I can go, okay, I've created a post. The one I'm doing today is like a thought or a pondering. I'd really love a picture of me, walking on the beach, or, a picture of my feet, or a picture of the ocean, or a picture of me sitting under my fruit trees. I'm sure I've got something like that somewhere in here, and I can scroll through and find it. Or you can go ahead and take a photo deliberately for that post. But the thing is that if you've got a ton of content you can pull from, it's going to save you a lot of time in the long run. So find ways to categorize your content so when you sit down to create your posts each week, you've got things ready to roll. The next thing is scheduling. Now, this is interesting because this has changed a lot over the last few years. I used to say schedule all of your content. Now I'm going to say if you schedule 50 to 80% of your content, that's all you need to do, because you do still want to be doing some posting in the moment. So scheduling your content ahead of time is a great thing to do from the perspective of life happens and you don't want to just not post. But you also want to be aware that if you schedule everything, you're not so likely to be in it, interactive, in the moment, and do you know what? There are things that are going to come up where you're going to be like, well, I know I was going to do that post today, but then that happened and that would be way better today. I'm going to save that post for later. So what I typically do is I create my content, and I did this yesterday. I created a bunch of content and I save it in my edits, which is where I like to create a lot of my posts, or my Oksano social. I've got it ready to roll, and then I post it when I'm ready. So I'll get up on a Monday, I'll post it on Monday. But if I think of something that's more relevant for today, I can use that thing. So scheduling can mean have the post ready, not necessarily physically scheduled into a platform. The other thing is that not all locations or platforms are conducive with scheduling anymore. Some are, many are, but you don't want to be completely hands off. Social media is exactly that, social media. So you do need to have some presence, right? And then the last thing here is testing. Testing is critical because if I'll give you an example of this. So we assumed that social media tips would be one of our most popular pieces of content because we're social media trainers, right? It goes without saying. Of course, people want social media tips. That's what we do. But when we went back and we analyzed our content, the lowest performing piece of content we were creating were our social media tips. Now, you got to think about this. A social media tip isn't really inviting engagement so much. So maybe the post was still really valuable. It's just that people weren't interacting with it. So you do have to take that into account. But what we found we were getting more interaction with was more of the business inspiration type posts. So, what planner I love to use, or some of the business tips I might have, or things I do in my own business. People were responding to that so much more than a Facebook tip. So we don't kind of go, well, they're wrong, I'm right, so I'm going to keep posting that. I could have gone years and not known this, right? If I wasn't checking my content and having a look at my insights. Now, I also recommend uploading those insights into AI like ChatGPT and asking it to analyze it and tell you, what are you doing well? What could you do better? What are some ideas that maybe you're missing that you could do more of or do differently? So again, use these tools at your fingertips to enhance you, to help you do more of what you do and be better at reaching your dream customers. Now, I'm also going to give you guys another little tool here, which is something I call my daily method of operation. And this is something that you can adapt to you as much as you like. This can be used in an hour. You could do it in 10 minutes. But this is just pre-thinking out how you want your social media strategy to work in with the growth of your business. So what you would do is you would fill in all of these blanks. So I'm committing to connecting with how many people a day? I might say I want to connect with 3 people a day that are my existing customers, right? You can say, I can do that in a few minutes. You might want to find 2 new people to connect with each day. So that might be going and looking at some groups, or, looking at people who are friends of your friends and working out who's someone I would like to connect with that I'm not yet connected with. You might have 1 in that list. You might say 5, but this is about filling your pipeline, right? You might want to have 2 conversations about the business or the products each day. Remember, make it about the person. Be very careful not to be actively selling to people that you haven't earned the right to sell to yet. You might want to get some bookings in. Again, this can be tailored to you. This may not be relevant. You may say, I want to get 1 booking every day. I might want to have 1 person join my team every day. So you're going to note this down. You've got a blank space there as well, so you can fill that one in with whatever you want. And then here's one of the things that I think we miss a lot, and that is commenting on other people's social media content. This is really important because everywhere you go, your profile picture goes, your name goes, and it reminds people that you exist. But it's also, a lot of people stay in their business page or in their profile or in their Instagram, and they don't get out of it. You will have more people find you and follow you when you're interacting elsewhere. They'll see you. They'll see your comments. So ask yourself, where can I go to interact with people? A really great strategy in this space would be to join some Facebook groups which have people interested in a topic that you are passionate about or you can be somewhat of an expert in. Don't use it to sell, but use it to add value. If people ask a question, you might go, I'm really passionate about children's healthy eating. Go and join a Facebook group that's all about kids' healthy eating. And when someone says, oh my goodness, how do I get veggies into my 2-year-old? You can go comment on that post and say, oh, here are a couple of things I did that worked for me. Now, it's not just that person you just commented on that sees your name, your profile picture, and what you said. It's other people too. So suddenly you've got people going, oh, who is she? What is she talking about? What does she do? And they might come across and check you out. Maybe they don't the first time, but they might on the 7th, 8th, 9th time. So get out of your profile page group, interact elsewhere. Also interact on your own family, friends, and connections profiles. Don't just stay in yours. You're more likely to get people commenting on your stuff if you comment on other people's as well. Also, I love this because it puts you into a different state of mind. I think it's a very important part of running a business, and that is I set myself a goal to write a piece of gratitude to someone every day. It might be a little quick message, a little voice note. It might be an SMS, an email, a thank you letter or card, whatever it is, a quick piece of gratitude to someone. And then you can set yourself a couple of other tasks. One of the tasks you definitely want every day is to check your Facebook or Instagram post, check your comments, interact back. But you might do a little post to stories if you've got the time. You might schedule your weekly content out, whatever that needs to look like. So this is a really great little cheat sheet to help remind you of the important things that will move the needle in your business. And then I love the last line here that I've given you guys as well. This is all very personal. I give you guys things that I personally use. But what's the weakness I commit to making into a strength this month? So growth comes from small little things that we do every day on a consistent basis. So what's the little weakness that I could work on and turn into a strength? And maybe that weakness is simply a mindset. It may be. For me right now, that is switching from a place of frustration into a place of gratitude, right? So how do I pick something to be grateful for every single day? It's not a big move, but it is a big mindset shift. Right? So what's the weakness you commit to making into a strength this month? Okay, let's move on to step number 5. And that is the most important part of this entire process. A lot of people skip it. Do not skip this if you want to get results, right? And we've already kind of talked about why, but that's where you reflect, assess, and rework. It's where you look at what you posted last week. So every week when you sit down and you create your content for that week, and this should only take you maybe 30 to 60 minutes a week, you're going to sit down, you're going to go, what worked, what didn't. Now, I'm going to come back a few steps because I missed something that I said to you I was going to talk about. And it comes back to the step 3 where you do the brainstorm. Now, the brainstorm, one of the most important parts to that is having a red thread. Okay, having a red thread. The red thread is the common theme that threads through all of your content. Now, that could be 1, 2, or 3 topics, but don't be tempted to go more than that. The red thread is essentially your common topics of conversation that find their way into everything that you do that are either you're passionate about, common interest between you and your audience, or they tick one of those boxes I said before. So remember, you either want to tap into what keeps them up at night or what gets them up in the morning. So your red thread, you want to pick 1 to 3 topics. Might be, I said one before, healthy eating for toddlers. It might be, mum energy. It might be inspiration. It might be, chemical-free living. It might be sport. It might be a sport. It might be shopping. It might be shoes. It might be houseplants, but it might also be tied much closer to your product and your business opportunity as well. So your red thread is not selling. Let's be really clear. Your red thread is not selling. It's not directly your product, although it may be your product type. So, for example, you might go, look, I know that my audience loves beauty products, right? So that could be a red thread, but it doesn't mean that the only thing you talk about in that topic is your product. You might talk about trends. You might talk about how-tos. You might talk about did you knows. You might talk about your product. You might talk about, 3 ways to use. It could involve your product or something else. It could talk about complementary products to your products. So you want to find 1 to 3 red threads that flow through all of your content when you're creating your content ideas. Okay. So, and don't forget, at the very end of this whole process, you're then going to reflect, assess, and rework, and you're going to create your content for the following week. Now, last but not least, I want to finish off by just really quickly giving you a little bit of an idea of how much time you should allocate for all of these things we've talked about. So there are 3 parts to this. Part 1 is your quarterly planning. Part 2 is your weekly planning, so your weekly posting. And part 3 are your socializing and check-ins. So part 1 happens once every 3 to 6 months. 3 months is the ideal. 6 months you can get away with. Part 2 is once a week or once a fortnight, but I would say do this once a week. And part 3 is daily. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is allocate every 3 months some time into your calendar to do the planning process we've just been through. Now, that might look like 2 to 3 hours. I suggest, if you've never done this before, allocate 3 hours. And if you get it all done in that 3 hours and you've got some extra time to spare, brilliant, go get a massage or treat yourself or do something you want to do. As you get familiar with this process, you will do it faster. So I still allocate 2 hours, but I know I'll probably be done in an hour to an hour and a half. Because a lot of what I've learned over the years is that I now know what content is performing for me. But when I first started, I had to learn that. And so it took a little bit more time, a little bit more research. I now know who you guys are. I'm learning about you every day, but I'm in the habit of learning about you every day. And so I'm constantly asking those questions, which means when I sit down and do this process, I'm not going, what do I know about my audience? I already know. And if anyone asks me, I can answer that question really quickly. So a lot of these things that take a little bit more time at the start will speed this process up. So number 1, allocate yourself, say 2 to 3 hours once a month, put it in your calendar, make it an appointment with yourself, take yourself out for a coffee date and do it in a fun location. So you really look forward to and enjoy the process. Make sure you got plenty of blank paper, lots of different color pens, because you're going to want to pull on the creative side as well. But do not be tempted to break this down into little pieces. Do it all in one go. The next part is once a week. Now, once a week is where you're going to plan, create, schedule your content. You've already done most of the heavy lifting here now because you've planned ahead. So when you create your content each week, you now don't have to sit down and go, oh, okay, what am I going to post? No, you're going, okay, I know. I need a thought of the week. I need a favorite book, a hot tip, a piece of education, a funny joke or something like that that's going to make my audience laugh. So what you're going to do is then sit down and create those posts. Now, you may schedule them. You may just save them. One of the things that you could do is literally, if you want to go really old school, just go into the notes in your phone and just type in the captions you're going to write so that when it comes to the days, you can just copy paste in. You've got it all ready to go, or you might schedule it ready to roll. Whatever works for you, and this may change over time. So you're going to allocate that time into your calendar each week. Now, how much time do you need for this? I would say allocate 1 hour once a week. If you do it quicker than that, brilliant. Go have a coffee, get the massage, go for a walk, whatever you want. But you don't want to be leaving it because you didn't have enough time. Also, I highly recommend making this like batching your time. So don't be tempted to do it while checking your email, while doing other things. Sit down and go, this time is purely just for my social media planning this week, right? You get a lot more done. You'll be a lot more productive. Don't try and multitask. So put the time into your calendar, allocate it, plan it, and do it. And then the last part is your daily check-ins. Now, this is really important because you don't want to post and then not interact with people. You don't want to be putting your content out there and then not responding to the comments, not checking your inbox, and not socializing with people. So this is a great chance to build your network. So this is where that daily method of operation comes into play. You might say, I can find 10 minutes once or 10 minutes twice a day. And that really, realistically, is all you need to do a really good job of this. So allocate some time that works for you. If you can, make it time that is not stealing from somewhere else, but using time that you can multitask in. For example, I get up in the morning, I do my miracle morning. I do a little bit of exercise. I do a little bit of I do some reading. I do a little bit of journaling. And then at the very end of that, I have 5 minutes where I'm having my cup of coffee and I do my post check-ins. I check my post from yesterday. Sometimes I will put a story or two up, but that's when I do those check-ins. I go socialize. You might find 10 minutes at lunchtime. You're like, right, when I sit down and have my lunch, that's when every day I'm going to get in and do that checking in. You might do it at both ends of the day, whatever it looks like. So how much time do we allocate? Number one, you want 2 to 3 hours once every 3 months. Each week, you want maybe an hour to create your content. And then each day, you want to find 1 to 2 10 to 30 minute segments. 10 minutes is totally fine just to socialize, check in, and be present. And that's it. So if you think about how much time you currently spend on social media, I think the average person, I don't want to get this wrong here, but the average person spends 2 to 3 hours a day in a 24-hour period on social media of some sort. Might be a combination of platforms, but 2 to 3 hours a day. Now, can you find 10 minutes once or twice a day of that time? Can you steal it from that time to be doing your strategic checking in, socializing, etc.? And do you think that once a week you can find 1 hour to strategically create your content for the week? I reckon you probably could. And you'll thank yourself for it because it will be productive time that's moving you forward, moving the needle in your business. So that's it. That's the lot. That's your planning process. I know it might sound like a lot, but trust me, this can be so much fun. And when you do this, it will take so much weight off your shoulders moving forward. But I guarantee you, if you follow these 5 steps, you can't fail. Your social media will improve, it will grow, it will get you results because you're reflecting, assessing, and reworking every single week. You're not looking at it and going, I'm just going to keep doing the same old, same old. You're looking at it going, this is what's working, this is what's not, this is what my objective is, and this is how I'm going to achieve it. And I promise you, you will absolutely get results by doing this. No question in my mind. So have some fun with this. Remember that it's what you do, not what you learn, that gets you results. I hope you've enjoyed this session. Go and action something right now. That's very important because while you're in state, you want to do some activity. So go do one of these exercises, even simply allocating the time in your calendar right now for the first steps is a really big, really important move. So that might be all you can do for now, but do something off the back of this, get it locked in. And I can't wait to see you in our live weekly trainings, of course, where I'm going to each week share with you more content ideas for you to add to this plan. So that's it from me. Hope you've had fun. Go and take action on something right now. Awesome, guys. All right. Well, now we've got a little bit of time for some questions. If anyone does have anything they want to throw into the chat, now's your moment. I'm just going to come back here and have a little bit of a look at what we've got in the chat. So Joanne said, I thought you said the new thing was that you only need 3 to 4 a week. Yeah. Okay. So Joanne, really good pickup. And thank you for bringing that up. So you do only need 3 to 4 a week, but if you're posting 5 to 7 and 3 of them nail it and the rest don't, you're going to be doing really well, aren't you? So the thing is, it's 3 to 4 quality posts that your audience wants to see. But for most of us, we're still trying to figure out what that is. So I still think a good practice is 5 to 7, but if you have a week where you only do 3, you know what? If you aim at 5 and you end up with 3, you're doing really well. But if you aim at 3 and you end up with 1, you've got a little bit of moving to do. So I still say 5 to 7, but yes, the platforms are saying it is not about regularity as much as long-term consistency and quality. So great question. I love that. April, I make sure I'm hitting the friends button on Facebook so I'm not looking at ads and non-friend posts. Helped me so much finding this button. Yeah, awesome. Okay, Odette Tammy, I don't understand the red thread. Okay. Okay, so Tammy, I want you to think about what is the common topic of conversation you have with your audience, with your customers, with your team? Red thread is your theme. It's your brand. It's your common topic of conversation. So I'll explain to you my red thread. Now, my red thread is social media tips. It is parents in business, right? And it is confidence and courage. Okay. So when I create posts, I'm pulling from those three red threads, which are three potential topics of conversation. So I could talk about mum life in business, what that looks like. I could talk about where courage and confidence comes from and how to have more of it from the perspective of someone who's constantly having to find this. And then the other red thread, of course, is social media training, social media knowledge, social media tips, social media information. So when I create content, it needs to be based on those topics of conversation. You don't want to have any more than three. Okay, so you don't want to be talking about cute, fluffy animals, health, fitness, kids, because you're going to confuse people. The other thing is that when you've got a red thread of conversation, common topics of conversation, you're teaching the algorithm what you typically like to talk about, which is then going to say, okay, who's interested in this topic? So your typical, one of your red threads might be, guys, actually, can you all throw some red threads in the chat right now? So what are one of your three topics of common conversation you would have? And some tricks here would be, what do I constantly talk to my customers and team about? Like, what's a common conversation that comes up? You might go, well, it's actually always around health, but it's not just health. It might be more specific than that. It might be natural remedies. You might talk a lot about natural remedies. You're okay. That might be one of your red threads. So what have we got? Card making, migraines. Yeah. So Barbara, I was talking with Barbara the other day. She's one of our Rise Up members. And Barbara was saying that she's got this amazing story around how she overcame and dealt with migraines. And so it's a common topic of conversation that she would have. So it's a piece of content that can be talked about in so many different ways through her social media content. Carol, retirement readiness. I love that. Yes. Traveling, Michelle, that's another really great one. Patricia says self-care and wellness. I know, Patricia, you're very much so about alternative healing, right? So it could be alternative healing. Cleaning tips, Kylie. Of course, you would be a pro with that. Another one of our beautiful Rise Up members who, of course, Kylie has had a cleaning business. And so, while I know there's been a transition for you, Kylie, where you've been moving out of that and into your other business, you've got a lot of knowledge in that space. And it's probably a very common conversation you would have with people. So cleaning tips, absolutely. I always need great cleaning tips. Energy for hobbies, Louise. I love that. Travel, grandkids. Joanne, solutions for health issues. I love it. So does that make sense? Do you understanding that a little bit better now, what the red thread is? Tammy, give me a little shout out in the chat if that's helping you understand that a little bit more. Carolyn, I love that. Breaking free from burnout. Another great one. Travel. Yep. So the red thread, you want 1 to 3 topics. You could just be one, but it could be 3, but don't go more than 3. Okay. Because you go more than 3, you dilute your message, you confuse people, and the algorithm is confused. If the algorithm's confused, it won't deliver your content to people. You want it to know what you're talking about. So red thread, 1 to 3 topics of conversation. Awesome. All right, let's see. Have we got any other questions that have come up here just before we finish up? Odette says, I have been scheduling. Then if something else comes up, I'll reschedule something. Is that okay? And should we still only be posting at our popular times? Great question, Odette. So yeah, first thing there that you've said is great. So I schedule, and then if something else comes up, I move that post that I've scheduled, or if there's something else that comes up can be put in next week, I put it in next week. But I'm a little bit of a content hoarder, if you like. So I will create the post, and then schedule it and then move it if something else comes up. So I'll just move it into next week. So, which is great because then next week I've already done one of my days. I don't even have to think about it. Another thing that you can do in that too is throughout life, if things come up and you get the time to really quickly create that post in the moment, create it and just save it or schedule it so that, again, you've done the work ahead of time for next week. So I'll often try and use down moments. So, if I'm waiting to pick the kids up from school and I'm sitting in the car, or I'm at the doctor's office and they're taking a little while and I'm in the waiting room, I won't just sit there on my social media. I might go in and create a post ready to roll. This is why having images there and your ideas already planned out, you can go, okay, well, I don't want to make noise, so I don't want to do a video, but I've definitely got some time here for a minute. So I'm just going to create a couple of my captions to go with a couple of my images that fall into a couple of my categories. So I'm working ahead of time here. If you feel inspired, is another great time to do it as well. Popular times. That was the other part of your question. I love that question. And the answer is yes and no. You still want to test times outside of what Facebook or Instagram say are your popular times, because sometimes the reason that they're your popular times is because that's typically when you've been posting. But you might find that your audience are actually present on the platform and using it at different times to what you're used to. The other thing is that it's pulling popular times based on when people are scrolling or in the platform but not necessarily consuming. So what that means is if I know my target audience is typically a mum with young children who's running a business, and Facebook tells me that my most popular posting time is 7 to 9 p.m. at night, I've got to ask myself, what do I know about my audience at that time? So you guys could probably tell me, because I know a lot of you, in fact, are parents with kids that are running business. Are you focused on your social media at that time? Or are you just scrolling because, you're brain dead, you've been working all day, it's witching hour or just at the back end of witching hour, and you're going to have people's undivided attention? Maybe the answer is yes, but maybe it's not a good time to get their attention. You might know about that particular audience that another really great time to get their attention is first thing in the morning before the kids get up, when they're having their morning cup of tea. Or maybe it's lunchtime while they're having their lunch, a little bit of downtime when the kids are napping, whatever that looks like. So know that popular posting times are an indicator, but you should always be testing various things. Very interestingly, my most popular posting time is not the time I get the most interaction. I get the most interaction on my social media around midday lunchtime or very first thing in the morning, but actually not at my most popular posting time between 7 and 9 p.m. So you want to be paying attention to what your audience is actually telling you versus what the insights are necessarily guessing at. So your insights you should look at is what's happened, not necessarily what's being predicted. You can play with that, but it's not the be all and end all. I have seen it fail before as well. So hopefully that makes sense for you, but great question. Anna says, how do you know which post has performed best? What are the key indicators you're looking for? So, Anna, the best thing you can do is look at your insights. They're going to tell you a lot, but there's a difference between, and don't get confused with this. I'm actually going to do a little video on this soon, because there's a lot of confusion between impressions versus views versus clicks. So what you're looking at is actual engagement that shows an activity. So views are telling you, or impressions, I should say, are telling you, this is where people get confused. An impression on social media is it just got put on a profile. It appeared on a screen somewhere. It doesn't mean anyone looked at it, paid attention to it, clicked on it. Views are the number of eyes that saw that post, that scrolled past it. And then clicks are the number of people that actually clicked on it to read it and see it or look at the image or whatever that might be. Your clicks are your first indicator of engagement. It's the lowest form of engagement you can get is a click, because they've somehow done something with it. Then you've got people that interact. So they might share, they might save, they might comment, they might give a like. So and those are next level up. So as far as the platforms are concerned, the parameter, I suppose, the number that they're most interested in is saves and shares. Okay, so people that save and share. But what you're looking at are clicks. And the reason you're looking at clicks is because it has to start somewhere. Now, people may not comment for lots of posts. They might not know you well enough yet. But if someone's clicked on it, they've paid attention. So I would say clicks is your first indicator that people are consuming my content. So that's what I would be looking at. But your insights are going to tell you a lot, right? You want to be paying attention to those. Kylie, in your insights, it will tell you what your most popular posting times are. So you can look at it in there. Again, in your training, you've got a module on insights, and I walk you through all of that. So if you haven't done that one before, that's one that you could do. Okay, so guys, I think that's it for today. We have had a nice long session together. I hope this has been really helpful. I'd love for you to throw in the chat for me what's been your biggest takeaway from this session. And I want to know, what's your action step? What's the one thing you're going to go and do off the back of this? Because remember, it's about the action. It's not about the learning as much as it is about the action. So what's the one thing you're going to go and do off the back of this training today? Okay. Let's have a look here. What are we coming up with? So Joanne said, if your link click state insights not available, yeah, it depends on the type of post. Sometimes insights are not available, for example, on certain types of posts or profiles. So you don't get insights on a personal profile if it's not public, for example. So it does depend a little bit on what you're doing. But if you've got a business page, groups have limited insights, but they do have some insights. Your professional personal profile, if you have one, will have some insights, not as many as a business page. And your Instagram, if you are set up as a professional profile, will have insights as well. But some types of posts still won't have all of the, like a video will have different insights to a standard post, for example. Stories get limited insights. So it just depends on the type of post you create, but you're looking at the patterns, right? So don't panic if one particular post or one particular type doesn't tell you what you want to know. You're looking at the patterns. Okay, loving what you guys are putting in here. Schedule a 3-hour block of time to start training, Kylie. I love it. Put it in your calendar. Don't just say you're going to do it. Put it in your calendar now. Make it an appointment. Anna, finish scheduled times and plan. Great. Put that in your calendar too. Take yourself away from home and do quarterly planning tomorrow, Louise. Right. I love that. And enjoy it. Have some fun with it. I know that you will. Kay, creating my schedule and the red threads. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for joining me today. I've had a lot of fun with all of you. I hope this has been really helpful. This recording will appear, minus the Q&A at the end, will appear inside of your trainings. So you'll be able to go back and redo this if you want to. Maybe you want me to be by your side every 3 months, so you can play this in the background and sit down with that little worksheet. But we will also provide you with those worksheets as well. So thanks, everyone. It's been so great joining you again live. We'll speak to you all again soon. Bye for now.